If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
Oh, yeah. In this episode of the Mind Pump,
bringing the heat.
For the first 35 minutes, we have some really fun today conversation in our intro. We start out by giving our 6-week challenge update.
Maybe one of the more valuable intros, I think. So this is definitely one you should listen to.
Yeah, you know, I commented that Adam, Justin, and Doug are looking really, really good. Adam thinks I have a little bit of a ulterior motive with that, but I am being genuine.
Patronizing us.
I am being genuine. You guys look
I trust
really
you about
good.
as far as I could throw you.
Yeah, that's not that far. Then we talked about Katrina's Spartan training and how her body is adapting to this endurance training.
Good or bad?
Did she get leaner? Did she gain body fat?
Did she get fatter?
Yeah, who knows?
Oh, my God.
Then we talk about my Everlywell hormone test. So I did another Everlywell test to test my hormones, and my testosterone went through the roof, and we talk about what I've done to increase my natural testosterone levels. Then Adam gives us his renewed protein powder use. How is he using Organifi now to get his protein intake
He's back on the powder, everybody.
Now, we are sponsored by both Everlywell and Organifi. So with Everlywell, if you go to everlywell.com, enter the code MINDPUMP, you get 15% off any test. And with Organifi, which has the protein powder, if you go to Organifi.com/MindPump, enter the code MINDPUMP, you get 20% off. And then we end the intro by talking about the drugs known as SARMs. Everybody's taking SARMs. Do they work? Do they not work? Are they safe? What the hell are you doing taking these crazy
on the SARMs?
Find out what Mind Pump thinks.
Yep. Then we get into the questions. The first question was, how do you strike a balance between listening to your body and pushing your body to build muscle or burn body fat? Are those competing ideologies? How do you work between the two of those? The next question was, what is a good indicator that your metabolism is at the point now where you could start cutting calories to lose body fat? This is a great question. We get into detail so you can know when the right time is to start your cut. The third question was, how would someone who works all day long at a desk, so this person sits down for like 8 or more hours a day, how the heck are they supposed to get 10 to 14,000 steps a day? We give some useful strategies in that part of this episode. And the last question, what are some of our self-care practices and how do they impact our mental and physical aptitude? Justin dropped some wisdom in that part of this episode.
I always do, but this one especially.
Lots of self-care. Also want to remind everybody, MAPS Performance is 50% off, half off. This is the first time we've ever done a MAPS Performance promotion for this long. Yeah. Now, in order to get
the most videos out of all the other programs we sell.
Oh, this is very different from what you're doing now. It's a very functional program, mobility-based. This is designed to get you functional athletic performance.
It's probably what you're not doing and you should be doing. So I'm challenge everybody out there who hasn't tried it yet to give it a go.
Now, this program is not for wimps. It is hard. It is a very, very hard workout. You will sweat. You will burn a lot of calories. In order to get the discount, you got to go to mindpumpmedia.com, enter the code GREEN50, GREEN, and the number 50, no space, and you will get 50% off. I also want to remind you that we have bundles on that website. Bundles are where we combine multiple MAPS programs and put them together for specific goals, like our Super Bundle, which is a full year of exercises and workouts all planned out for you. So you can find all the bundles and the 50% off MAPS Performance with the code GREEN50 at mindpumpmedia.com.
Justin, can I just say something? You look fucking handsome today.
Thanks, man.
You guys are all, I'm going to be honest now. No more shit talk. I'm not going to talk shit. This is honest.
Now we're going to be nice.
I don't want your compliments
This is a new
anymore.
strategy.
I'm tired of your compliments. You know what it is? I know you, bro. This is you slowly closing our audience.
Yeah.
It's you slowly closing the audience on how much we had to be changed.
He wants some fans.
And how much advantage that we had.
No, I'm being honest.
I know you, dude. You're setting everybody up.
First of all, I talk shit all the time.
And you're also trying to get us to relax. I know, bro.
No. First of all, I talk shit all the time. I am being completely honest.
I'm fucking Obi-Wan, dude.
I'm being completely...
Don't fucking...
What a dick.
Fine,
I can't even say something nice.
Don't Luke Skywalker me, bro.
Stop using Star Wars references.
Young Padawan.
That's Justin's game.
That's why he likes
Listen,
I'm listening right now.
I am being completely honest. Everybody's looking really good. Doug looked like I will bet money Doug, did you measure your arms? Did you gain at least
He's bringing in some guns.
At least a quarter inch on your arms?
I have zero idea.
Oh, you haven't measured it?
I haven't measured.
He measures his waist. He already mentioned that.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what your waist looks like because you wear baggy t-shirts, but your arms look bigger. Adam's looking way different. You look healthier for sure. Can't wait till you do your next hormone test. Justin, fuck, dude, you look good. Everybody's looking good. This is really, really. Now the guys who aren't making that big of a difference.
Serious.
Taylor looks the same. Drew looks the same. Enzo's getting leaner.
Yeah,
Enzo's starting to look
getting leaner.
Yeah, everybody's doing really well, and I'll be honest with you. Like, of course, I want to win. All that, great. I'm very competitive, but at the end of the day, if one of us does well and the rest of us suck, it looks really bad.
Right.
So I'm really happy to see that everybody's killing it. You guys are all killing it.
You knew that would happen, though. Everybody on this team, especially the owners, right? And Katrina. So she's part of this competition with us right now, right? So she's been going along.
Is she really?
Yeah, and she's also training for Spartan. So she's got the big Spartan.
Oh, that's gonna be a challenge
in 2 weeks. It's a major challenge. So listen to what happened to her. So we did a little. This was the midpoint, right, for us, and so I wanted to go and get my body fat tested again, just to kind of make sure that I'm on pace for where I want to be and stuff like that, like checking up. And she did too. So we went together. And before we even went, she's kind of talking to me about her past week and what she's been doing. And I've been telling her that, just keep in mind what you're trying to do right now. Like, it took me a really long time to get you out of being a runner to building and sculpting of physique, and you love everything about it. And now you've decided to take on this new Spartan thing. Like her and her brother, they're on pace. They're going to go get the 3, right? So she's going to go to the championship.
Is it that they want the whole complete?
Yeah, they're going to complete the whole thing. And she's now on her I think 3rd or 4th Spartan race.
Good for them.
Yeah, they're having a blast. They enjoy doing it. And I said, nothing wrong with this, but I want you to know that when you get yourself involved in a body sculpting competition, and you're also training for a Spartan race,
which is endurance.
Conflicting interests.
Completely conflicting, and you cannot be hard on yourself because there's going to be a give and take here. So
the worst part is when you do that kind of training, the scale moves down. So you can be tricked.
So listen to what I'm going to share with the audience right now. What happened to her, because this was a great lesson for her, and I think a lesson for a lot of people.
A lesson in that Adam is correct.
No, well, no, and I'm definitely not that guy at all. Like, I don't told you so at all. I mean, I actually love for us to do this because it applies tangible things that I now can use to demonstrate the example that I've been trying to give her, and I definitely don't rub it in because I know how it feels. It sucks when this happens.
Sure.
So leading up to this, going to the test, she had a really busy week at work. And because she's getting closer to a Spartan race, she's been, slowly increasing her mileage on how much she's running and working on her endurance. And she had kind of a slow week lifting. I mean, she's very consistent with her lifting. Her and I train anywhere between 4 to 6 days a week on a very regular basis. And I think this week she only got in like 2 or 3 times. But she got her runs in, and she's down 2 pounds. So she feels leaner and stuff, and she's going to get dunked. And she goes, and when we get dunked, and her body fat percentage went up. And she's fucking pissed, And I'm like, why are you mad? Like, we talked about this. Like, this, I'm not surprised at all. You shouldn't be surprised. And she's like, I just don't understand. She's like,
her body's becoming more efficient.
I'm like, she's like, I'm down weight. I'm dialed on my food. Like, she's ate perfect. And she's like, I don't, this is not fair. And I'm like, well, hun, you got to understand that you've been consistently lifting, and then all of a sudden you have a slow week. So you sent a signal to the body that it doesn't need as much muscle this week because, and of course it works on a grander scale than this, but I'm using this as an example to explain to her how the body is responding to exactly what she did to it, which was you reduced the volume of training, just by chance because you couldn't get to the gym. And this happens to people every day. This is why people get stuck in plateaus of the up and down, is you get a busy week, your volume inevitably goes down, meaning you have less sets, less reps, less total weight that you move that week, which then sends a signal to the body that I don't need as much muscle because I'm not moving as much weight this week as the prior 3 weeks.
You're also sending the competing signal of...
And then on top of that, you're getting these runs in, and you're increasing the amount of time that you're running, and it's not a lot. She's not running like crazy, just a little bit. But just the fact that you are running and then you're increasing the amount of time you're running, you're now sending a signal to the body saying we need to be more efficient. We need to be efficient with our calories. We need to be efficient with our body weight because we have to be moving longer. So it's not advantageous for us to have all this muscle. So less volume and more running definitely tells the body, let's get rid of this heavy ass muscle. So it did exactly what you wanted it to do by what you did this week. So you can't beat yourself up.
Such an important thing to communicate, and I know we continue to hammer it, but it's because it can seem bewildering. It can seem like a massive mystery. I mean, here you are, you're working out hard, you're doing way more cardio, so you're burning more calories.
Eating perfect.
Eating well. Then you weigh yourself and you're like, oh shit, I'm down in body weight. I'm getting leaner, especially if you're a female. And when I say that, it's because women tend to focus on wanting to get smaller. Not leaner, but smaller. So when they go on the scale and they see that they're lighter, they're like, hell yeah. But then when you go get a body fat test, which most people don't get or have access to body fat tests, right? They just look at the scale. Then you get a body fat test, and although you're lighter, your body fat percentage went up. Now, how is this possible? People want to ask, well, how's this possible? It's easy. If your muscle mass went down and your body fat stayed the same, your body fat percentage went up. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Because your total pounds of body fat might not have even gone up, but it is now a larger percentage of your body weight because your overall body weight went down. So you might not even gain body fat, but your body fat that you have on your body now is a larger percentage.
And that's exactly what happened to her.
Yeah.
Is that she lost, and all it has to be is a 1-to-1 ratio or less, right? So if she lost 2 pounds and she didn't gain any fat, but her body fat percentage went up because all she has to do is lose 1.1 pounds of muscle and 0.9 pounds of fat, and she'll get fat.
And the ratio is different.
Right.
Exactly.
And then now the body fat percentage goes up.
Now the other side of that, of course, is that's a slower metabolism, right? You lose muscle or you lose strength. That's a sign that your metabolism is starting to slow down. And what happens, people get stuck in that trap and they continue to push it. Because here's what most people do. Most people are not like Katrina, don't go get a body fat test, aren't, with someone who's a trainer with lots of experience and all that stuff. Most people would just look at the scale and be like, oh, this is working great.
Right.
I'm going to do more of this.
Right, or continue even.
Yeah, I'm going to do more cardio, do less weights, because when I do weights, my body's on this. My body weight doesn't change on the scale. Yeah. But when I do shit tons of cardio, I lose a lot of weight on the scale, not realizing that they're getting softer, slowing their metabolism down. Now, over time, you dig a hole. What happens? You dig a hole with the slower metabolism, and over time, you're in a situation. I mean, my girlfriend is a amazing example of this. When I first started dating her, if she consumed over 1,200 or 1,300 calories, she would gain weight. And this is because she used to run like a maniac all the time, tons and tons of cardio. Now, today, this is, a few years later. I mean, now when she's cutting, she's at like 1,700 calories and, 1,600 calories, and that's getting her leaner. Whereas before, anything over 1,200 would have her gain weight. And she's not doing barely any cardio. So this is what you can do with your body with the right kind of training, and it just takes a little time. I mean, if you get on and you start, I just did Christina Rice's Insta story because she has a large female following, and a lot of them are having trouble understanding this concept. And I was telling them, look, when you first start proper resistance training, first of all, if your goal is endurance, then go run. If that's your goal, then yeah, you want to run. But if your goal is overall fitness, be leaner and stay leaner easier in regular life, well, then you need to lift weights. And what I explained to them was, look, when you first start lifting weights, here's what happens. You're not going to lose a lot of weight on the scale initially. What's going to happen is you're going to feel more firm and toned. Then your body shape will start to change a little bit. I love it when I get messages from clients and they're like, the scale hasn't changed, but I definitely look way different. Mm-hmm. That's because more muscle, less body fat. It's give you a better shape, right? But then the fat loss starts to happen. Once you start to get past that point, then you start to notice fat loss, and it becomes, dare I say, far easier. And I hate saying easy because it sounds like I'm like a commercial for a diet pill or something like that. But it's fucking true. I mean, Imagine if you could eat 600 more calories a day and not do cardio and get leaner. Is that easier than what you were doing before? Hell yeah, you better believe it. And we see it all the time. So now, speaking of things we've changed and getting our bodies to respond and whatnot, and I know I gave you guys compliments earlier, and everybody is changing really well, but I think you guys might be screwed. Because
I saw your testosterone.
Yeah, dude, you guys are competing with. I'm on natural roids. I'm on naturals.
Well, there's a couple factors there, right? That we were talking about. Like you had that all-day workout,
Yeah.
right?
And
Well, you did. So first of all, you did the Everly Well twice.
Yeah. So what I did was so in 2017, I had bought this is before we were sponsored by Everly. Now, what I love about Everly Well,
It keeps them all, right?
well, I love. Yes, we're sponsored by them, but we're not. We got sponsored with them because I had done stuff with them before and I had liked them, so we had seeked them out. And what I like about them is their tests are inexpensive. You do them at home because it's a pain in the. Have you ever tried to go get a hormone test by your doctor? You got to go see your doctor. You got to get a prescription. Then you got to go
text
lab
you, let you know your results are up. It's super easy.
Yeah, but Everly Well is like you get the at-home test. I think the testosterone test is like $49, and that's retail. We have a discount. You get the test, and for a lot of the hormone tests, it's saliva. So you wake up first thing in the morning, and you don't brush your teeth or anything, and it tells you within 30 minutes of waking up, and you fill up a vial with saliva, and what it's measuring is free active testosterone, which is an important measurement because total testosterone doesn't tell you how much of it is active and how much of it is bound. When testosterone's bound, it doesn't do anything in the body. So you want to know what the free testosterone is. So you spit in this vial, then you just mail it in. When they get it, they send you a text, they send you a website, they save it. So I did one in 2017, and the reason why I did a test back then was I felt like my testosterone levels were low. I remember telling Jessica, like, I just don't feel like myself. Now, I was chalking it up to, I'm, a year and a half or whatever out of a divorce and a lot of stress. Maybe that's what's going on. But it just doesn't feel, my normal testosterone levels, I've always felt like were kind of high. But I don't know, I never really knew because I never really tested it. So I did that test and it came back average. Then a year later, we get sponsored through Everly Well, and all of us do a testosterone test. I did another one, and it came back just a little higher, but it was about the same. So again, it was average. Now at this point, I'm like, okay, I know it says I'm average, but I still don't feel like myself. I still don't feel like the old Sal where I always felt like I have higher levels of testosterone. So I examined my entire life, and I said, what could I be doing now that would be depressing my testosterone
Let's
levels?
talk about some of the indicators that tell you that you just didn't feel normal. Like, what are they? Because I know what they are for me and the things I look at, like as far as libido, skin, my sleep, my energy levels. Like, what are the things that you're...
My libido, although it was good, and Jessica would argue, she would always tell me, shut up, your libido's great. And I'm like, you have no idea what it used to be. So I felt like my libido wasn't as high as it was before. But again, that was kind of like iffy. My recovery with weights wasn't as good. My strength was harder to lift as heavy as I did before, and of course that could be age. I'm now on the I'm almost 40 now, so I'm like, well, it could be that, and so it was hard for me to. But I did notice the declines and things that you're supposed to notice when your testosterone level is not as high as it once was, or whatever. So I said I want to test it again, but this time I want to address the potential things that could potentially be lowering it, bring it lower than what I think it normally is. And so the two main areas that I looked at were my diet. Now, I had been eating keto style for a while now. You guys know this. Since we started Mind Pump, I'd always eaten that way. And it wasn't for any other reason than for my gut health. It just helped my gut health, and so I felt better. And I do want to be clear on the podcast, health is always number one, because had I just tried to eat in a way to raise testosterone and not paid attention to my gut health, I would have worse health, and testosterone probably would have been worse anyway. So, but with keto diets and low carbohydrate diets for long periods of time, it's pretty well established that it will cause a lower testosterone in men. This is a well established fact. It's not a secret or whatever. It's not controversial. But again, if you need to eat keto for your health, that's more important. And doing the opposite will make everything worse anyway. So I said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start slowly increasing my carbs. My gut health was much better because I was doing those monthly fasts. So I said, maybe I can start doing that. So I started bumping up my carbs. I started feeling stronger. I started feeling better. I noticed maybe that's affecting me positive. The other thing I looked at was cannabis. Now, here's the thing with marijuana. Cannabis very reliably in animal studies will lower anabolic hormones in animals. Very reliably. Like they know it's going to happen every single time when they give an animal high doses of cannabinoids that their testosterone and anabolic hormones go down. Now with humans, the studies are mixed. Some show it lowers, some show it doesn't do anything. The problem is humans are hard to study like with animals. Like it's hard to take a bunch of guys and then who don't use marijuana.
Well, and then control all the variables.
Control everything.
It's like you got 100 guys, they all smoke weed, and you're trying to see if the weed makes a big difference on testosterone, but we're not talking about their stress, we're not talking about their sleep, we're not talking about their weightlifting routine.
It's hard.
And we know that those things could potentially positively affect testosterone even more so than marijuana could negatively.
Now, I know the endocrine system is riddled with cannabinoid receptors, but so is a lot of the body, the brain, the digestive system, the bones, but the endocrine system for sure. And we do know, and this is quite well established, that lots of cannabis use will decrease the quality of your sperm. So if you're a man trying to get a woman pregnant, lots and lots of weed, not a good idea. The other thing, too, is when you go to a doctor, when you go to a endocrinologist, I hope I said that right,
Endocrinologist.
Doug. Thank you. Yeah. When you go to a hormone doctor, if you're a guy and you get gynecomastia, for example, let's say you start to grow breast tissue, one of the first things they do is they ask you if you smoke marijuana, because they've seen anecdotally that it can cause that. And there's some evidence to suggest it may do that, maybe not. It's kind of up in the air. So the studies are, but here's the other thing too. I was using cannabis every night. Now, initially I did this for, again, my gut, but my gut had been so much better. And I said, am I just using it every night now because I like it? So, I told Adam, I'm gonna cut down.
Am I?
I'm gonna cut way down on cannabis. Here's the thing I noticed when I cut down on cannabis, by the way. I went through 2 weeks of withdrawal, which really pissed me off because that told me I was using too much. I don't like to feel withdrawal from anything. That tells me that I was lying to myself. I had my sleep it wasn't terrible. It wasn't like heroin withdrawal or anything. It was terrible. It was my sleep was off and I wasn't feeling like myself. But that told me, oh shit, my body adapted to using this every night. So I went from using it every night to using it once or twice a week. I increased my carb intake. My sleep was good and all that other stuff. Got my new Everlywell test, and this time I did the men's health one, which not only tests testosterone, it tests cortisol, estradiol, and DHEA. So it tests all the important hormones for men.
Now, is that one a little bit more expensive because it does all three?
Yes. Okay. Not that much more, though.
It's worth it. I wish I would have done that the first time. That's the one I have now.
That's the one you're going to do now.
Yeah, no, I had it all set to go this morning, and I did. This is twice I've done this with Everlywell test, is I brush because I just have this habit. First thing when I get out of bed, I'm barely awake. I'm brushing my teeth.
Yeah, no, you can't brush your teeth.
Yeah, that's why I screwed up the last one. So it's interesting to do.
So I'm gonna put it I had it on my dresser. It's going on my bathroom counter, so I know not to brush my teeth first.
Yeah.
So I'll do mine tomorrow.
Yeah. So what I did was I did the test and it came back. My estradiol was normal, cortisol was normal, DHEA was high. And my testosterone was high. Now it's not high like I'm on steroids or anything like that. It was definitely above they said anything over 185 was high. I was at 220, but that's almost double what I measured before. So what I'm doing now is working. Now I can tell when I'm working out. I can tell since I started doing this, I'm stronger. I feel better. I seem to be building more muscle.
Double the hormones is crazy.
Double free testosterone.
It'll be interesting too. I've been thinking about this because going carnivore for so long, and then I just literally reintroduced a cup of rice, some carbs into my diet yesterday, and it was the craziest surge I've felt I've ever. To be honest with you, I've never felt that much energy and immediate access to strength when I went back to the workout. So
tell me you weren't thinking about what I've said a million times on this show about the most anabolic I've ever felt is when manipulating nutrition for a show.
Oh, dude, it's crazy.
Yes.
More than any injection I've ever taken.
Bro,
it was like a lightning bolt. It was so obvious, and that's why I was and I remember Sean Baker and having him on the show. He made great points and all this kind of stuff, but even when we were kind of off air, we were asking about his testosterone levels and this and that, and he was kind of vague with his answers with that. But I can't imagine that it's gonna raise testosterone. Being in this deficit, it feels like you're in this deficit all the time, and I'm fighting against my body.
Dude, just because you can doesn't mean it's ideal. So
right.
I think what they're doing is oh shit, you can eat meat and be okay. Well, yeah, you can just meat, but you're not. That's not ideal. And here's the deal. A lot of people who do it, like Michaela Peterson, okay, we had her on the show. This is Jordan Peterson's daughter. She eats carnivore because if she eats anything else,
severe problems.
She eats anything else, she has an immune reaction.
Well, it's like the point you made earlier. It's just
to heal yourself first,
right? Yeah, for health purposes, I mean, it makes sense, right? If you have somebody who is, this severe gut issues, and by doing the carnivore diet or doing the ketogenic diet resolves that for you, and your overall health, sleep, being libido, all is good. But for you're just an average person who's trying to be in shape and trying to get in better shape, and you're trying to hop on one of these fucking trendy diets right now.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, carbs serve a purpose.
Use them like tools.
And I already see sort of people like getting into the dogma of it and getting swept into that. Like it's like, oh, I'm getting all these performance gains and I'm, cutting down and this and like, no. Like let's separate ourselves from that and really dissect it, because to me it's like I've had shit performance, and I'm just going to be dead honest about that. That's why I'm a little bit interested to see, like, with my testosterone levels, like what that comes out.
I know. I kind of wanted you to test it before you did that, and I have to be honest. I mean, I know Sal's been giving compliments to everybody around, but I really haven't been worried about you, because I knew you're going to fuck shit up with how low you've been with all the carnivore diet. I am a little nervous though. You start adding carbohydrates into your diet. That does make me a little. That makes me a little nervous, because
I'm coming back
for sure. I think you're going to see a big difference from that.
The problem is this. Here's what you need to understand, because I did keto for long periods of time. You are hypersensitive to carbs. Okay,
yeah, big time.
You had 1 cup of rice.
That was it.
That is not a lot of carbs, and you felt a huge surge. Here's the problem: you're going to start throwing carbs in. You're going to feel good. You're going to want to increase.
Keep doing.
Appetite's going to go through the roof. Boom! You're going to hold water and body fat like crazy. So
no.
Do it. What I would recommend,
do it intermittently.
I was just going to say, what I would recommend is, if you want to do it now before the contest is over, is I would do a cup of rice every other day or every third day. That's it. Just play with that and see how that feels, and slowly increase it.
Adam was telling me about sort of a progression too that I might apply as well, as far as like adding a little bit, a little bit more, then going back down to nothing, like in carnivore again, and kind of like repeating the pattern.
But I mean, I think people should use these diets as tools. Like, what they're good for, when to use them. Like, here's the deal, okay? Let's say you have, use me as an example. When my gut was really off and I was going keto and using cannabis daily and it was helping, would my hormone levels be better in that situation, or would my hormone levels be better if I just focused on eating carbs and not using cannabis and letting my gut health go to shit? See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Good health is what kept me where I wanted to go. Now that my health was good and I didn't need to use those tools anymore, now I can remove them, change things up, and now I'm in a more optimal state. But good health is number one, because that's going to give you the best results.
Along those lines, and it's funny that we're doing this competition and we're back in this place again. I now feel like I'm all of a sudden this protein powder advocate again. I'm back on drinking the Organifi protein. And here's the deal: like when I track and I pay attention to what I'm eating, naturally I have a hard time consistently getting protein into my diet. And maybe that's because as a kid I just gravitated to carbohydrates my whole life, and it's not that I don't crave meat. It's just that
you're aiming for 200 grams.
Yeah, I'm a 218 pound guy. Right, that's what I'm weighing right now, and my lean mass is probably somewhere around 180 plus pounds of lean body mass, and that's a decent amount of protein you got to get. So if you're only eating 3 times, maybe 4 times in a day, well, do the math, divide that up. Those are solid protein.
It's like 50 to 60 grams of protein,
right? Which is more than a 6-ounce chicken breast.
Yeah.
So think about that, and then that's a good day, right? A good day would be every meal has a good portion of 40 to 50 grams. Well, what's a day where I don't? What is a day where I just had to intermittent fast? What's a day? And those days start to add up.
What are you averaging? How many shakes are you averaging? Are you doing like 1 shake a day, 2 shakes a day?
Yesterday was the first day I didn't do one in a while, but I'm consistently probably having a shake every day right now.
Like 20 grams or 40 grams of protein?
Closer to 40, because I'm adding the 3 egg yolks into it. So I do the Organifi vanilla, and then I do the right now spinach, blueberries, banana, and then the 3 egg yolks.
Beautiful.
That's that's been a staple post-workout shake for me.
Now, totally honest, you are a whey protein guy for a long time now, using the Organifi, consistently. Digestion-wise,
that's what's different. So I notice I don't hold as much water. Whey works fine for me, and I still have my whey protein, and I haven't been using it lately because this shake I like right now, and it's working well for me. But I've said on the show before that I've used whey before, and I still intermittently use it. I haven't been lately. And the biggest difference that I noticed from the Organifi versus the whey is I don't have a bloat afterwards a little bit. My stomach sits. I don't have the farts or gas. I noticed that because sometimes I can get gassy after drinking a lot of protein shakes.
That's important.
Yeah, these are just little things, right? It's like, and those things I didn't
spare the air.
I didn't notice that before. These weren't things that I really paid attention to. I just thought that's part of the game, right? If you're a bodybuilder, you lift a lot of weights, you eat a lot of protein, you just fart all the time. Yeah. It's like, well, I notice a big difference if I'm doing a lot of whey versus if I'm just doing like the Organifi protein shake.
The worst are the egg protein farts.
Oh my God! You ever use egg protein powder?
Oh yeah. Oh,
that is like, and I think maybe because it's high in sulfur.
Yeah, it must be.
But first
of all,
like
that's what Craig was eating.
Yeah. You
fart
out.
He destroyed us.
That may have been the nastiest fart I've ever smelled.
Forever remember that.
I will.
That's like peeled the paint off the walls.
There's not many farts that you like remember for years. Like that was like 2 years ago.
That's a memorable fart.
Yes, dude. Man. We were in the suite and the motherfucker cleared the suite, dude.
Yeah. You know what it reminded me? It almost felt, maybe this is an illusion, but it felt thick.
Like, yeah. Like, like you could comb it out of the way.
I was like moving my arm in like this whole.
I could almost see where it is. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, the fog was just lingering.
Speaking of supplements and health and all that stuff, if I keep, do you guys get messages on SARMs?
Dude, all the time.
It's so popular right now.
It's up there with the top 3 things that I get in my DMs is SARMs and steroid stacks and asking me about it. And
dude,
where's the appeal in comparison to like testosterone?
I'm furious.
Here's what I remember. Okay, and this is where I'm patient because I get infuriated like you do too and frustrated or whatever. But then I the patient side of me is I also remember being a 19-year-old boy trying to find whatever's out there, and then also scared of steroids because I've heard because steroids is a needle,
sort of like a stepping stone to that,
right? And thinking that like steroids are so bad, I don't want to do steroids. But if there's something on the market that's close to steroids as possible, that's a pill or something that I can get that's not quite illegal, then in my head I'm justifying that's okay. And so I think I understand where a lot of these people are thinking.
I do too. Here's why I'm furious. I'm not furious with people asking me questions. The fury that I feel is because people in our space, responsible fitness, health, wellness people in our space, they're the fucking ones that are telling people it's this.
Check it out.
Yeah, check it out. It's this experimental thing, and it's got little side effects. And what the fuck are you doing?
How do you know that?
What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
First of all, okay, so here's the deal. I'm going to give a little breakdown on SARMs. I just did a post on Instagram about it because I was getting really mad because I get people messaging me who are telling me, hey, man, what do you think of this SARM? And how about if I take this much, whatever. SARMs, first of all, SARM is an acronym, and it stands for Selective Androgen Receptor Modulator. So it's similar to a SERM, which is a Selective Estrogen Receptor Modulator. Those are chemicals that attach to the estrogen receptor and block it. And women will they'll give them to women who have like breast cancer, or sometimes bodybuilder will take them because they're getting elevated levels of estrogen where they're taking testosterone. But what a SARM aims to do is it aims to attach to the androgen receptor. The androgen receptors are the same receptors that testosterone attaches to. Now, what are these receptors responsible for? Well, they're responsible for masculinizing effects. So masculinizing means making you more masculine. Okay, so body hair, facial hair, lowered voice oily skin, that kind of stuff. Okay, so obviously if you're a woman, you don't want to stimulate these too much because you'll start to become more male. And if you're a guy and you go hard with the androgen,
and don't make out with your boyfriend that could potentially be taking these too.
Thank you.
You'll
get banned from CrossFit.
His thingy.
Yeah. But if you're a male, you don't want to go crazy with androgen receptors and masculinization because then you could lose your hair, have enlarged prostate, like all the male things that that tend to happen with men. So anyway, besides that, the androgen receptors also build muscle and burn body fat and make you stronger. This is why one reason why men are stronger than women. We just have hormones that activate these receptors more than them, and so we have all these, on top of the masculinizing effects, we have all this other stuff. Now, SARMs are chemicals that drug companies have been trying, because for a long time, drug companies have been trying to figure out the problem of testosterone. And the problem is this: if we give testosterone to a cancer patient or to someone with osteoporosis or somebody with a degenerative disease, they tend to feel better because testosterone builds muscle, makes them stronger, and all these other things. The problem is you get the masculinizing effects with it as well. So you don't want to give a female cancer patient steroids to make her build muscle and feel better and gain weight, and then she becomes more male.
Is this the main reason why SARMs are even on the market, or their testing is there? They're trying to figure out a solution for women they're
trying to find a solution that it gives you all the good effects without the masculinizing effects.
I see.
So they're trying to give you like, okay, let's create a chemical that'll build muscle, strengthen bones, make you feel better, burn body fat, but also don't cause these masculinizing side effects. You're not going to
grow balls.
Yeah, and also doesn't lower testosterone, because when you take testosterone, your body identifies it, and it starts to reduce its own production of testosterone. So that's why guys on steroids their balls will shrink or whatever. It's because their bodies start producing less testosterone.
It's taking over its job.
Yeah. So what they're trying to do with SARMs is, okay, can we get the good effects without any of the negative effects? Now, here's the deal with them. These have very little science behind them. They're not anywhere near FDA approval, so they're in this kind of animal study stage. Some of these SARMs, one in particular, what's the company? GlaxoSmithKline, I think, the big pharma company, was testing one of these, dropped it. Many of these SARMs were dropped by pharma companies, by the way. So they were being tested. You can actually find literature. This is how a lot of these gray market, drugs get introduced, is these keyboard scientists will go through and look at chemicals that were tested but then dropped. And then they'll say, oh, cool, we'll make this chemical and sell it because it's not technically illegal. Well, let me tell you something. If a big pharma company
drops a drug,
because they definitely don't have the best reputation when it comes to integrity or safety.
No, quality control is like an afterthought.
I mean, one of them, GlaxoSmithKline saw that it was giving animals cancer, so like, we're not gonna go further. But of course, the gray market picks it up and is marketing it now to other people. So these things have very little study, and the amounts that are being used in the studies are way less than the amounts that people are recommending that humans use. Way less. Because if you use the small amounts that they show in studies, guys, here's what happens. They're weak. People use SARMs, and they'll gain like a pound of muscle maybe. And this is with higher doses. Some guys will gain 4 pounds of muscle with these super high doses. But on top of it, some weird shit's starting to happen. You're getting reports of liver toxicity, strokes. You're getting, eyesight issues. People are having issues with their eyes. I don't know how 5 pounds worth going blind.
Why would you ever want to mess with your eyes?
But here's the deal. Maybe they are safe or not. We don't know. There's not a lot of stuff behind it. It's a new fucking chemical that you're ingesting. And here's the best part. So there was an investigative report that was done. There was an article in the New York Times I just read, and they just did an investigative report, and they tested, I think, 40 over-the-counter gray market SARMs and found that half of them had way less than they said they did, and 10 out of the 40 didn't have any SARMs at all, and some of them had other hormones and shit in them.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so
out of 40,
half were off completely.
Yeah.
Some had nothing, and some had other shit in them.
Right.
Because this is a gray market for these products. There is not only is there no regulation, but there's also, it's a new market, so you don't have a lot of user feedback.
Right. There's not a lot of forums that are like, being real descriptive about
how do you test them? How do you test them to see what's in them? So you're basically trusting these companies who aren't even selling supplements. These companies are selling SARMs as research chemicals. That's the game.
Here's how I feel about this. It's like, if I'm going to put a chemical in my body, like I'm going to use something like testosterone. I mean, we've got guys that are 80, 90 years old that are fucking taking testosterone. We got guys that have been doing it for 50 years consistently, taking testosterone. Like there's people that it's been around for we've got tons of studies.
We know what testosterone does and what it doesn't do.
Yeah. Right. There's so much more research around that I feel, if I'm going to take the step of putting some sort of a chemical or something synthetic into my body to make myself bigger and stronger, I just feel so much more comfortable with something that's been around for a long time.
Dude, it makes me angry. It reminds me. It reminds me of the BPC 157. Like, that's another research chemical. Now I got convinced that, okay, maybe I'll try it, and I all these people that I trusted
and everything.
Yeah, all these people I trusted. Oh, this, that, and the other. It's safe. There's no side effects. Whatever. I used it for about 5 days. And I'm very sensitive to things. I pay attention to how my body feels, and all you guys know I'm the intuitive eater and all that stuff. And I started to feel a little bit like flat, a little down. I was like, what the fuck's going on? This is kind of weird. Is it the BPC?
Affecting your mood?
Yeah. So I do my own research and I dig real deep, and I find that, BPC 157 affects the dopamine and serotonin systems of the body. Well, that's fucking nice. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So again, this is like my bad. You know what I mean? My bad for messing with something without. So with these, when it comes to this gray market, it's like, and here again, it's weak. You're gonna take a SARM, you're gonna get about the same effects you're gonna get from creatine. Mm-hmm. You know, if you want to go that route, fucking take steroids. Stop being a pussy. Go take some steroids.
Would that be great if that was the only soundbite?
You're not supposed to say that.
But you get what I'm saying, right? I'm not
Mind
telling
Pump
people.
Sal, it's a quote.
I'm not telling people to take steroids.
No, I agree. This is what I'm saying to people in my DMs when they message me this stuff all the time. I'm getting messaged constantly about SARMs, and I'm like, listen, I'm not, to each their own. It's your body. Do what you want with it. Personally, myself, if I'm even contemplating taking something to enhance my, muscle building advantage, I'm going to take testosterone. It's just, I'll just take a lower dose of it. You know what I'm saying? I'll just take 200 milligrams of it. Like that, we have stuff to show that 200 milligrams of testosterone every 4, you have doctors prescribing that right now to people. I feel really comfortable taking
Plus,
something
it's been
like that.
around for a long time, and it's a hormone that your body makes.
Yes.
Like a SARM is a chemical.
You have more knowledge of the risk versus reward, and that's a decision you can make as an adult. It's just that these people, they're experimenting with things that don't have that kind of data behind it. So it's like, you may be just doing your body nothing but harm right away.
Plus the data, even if there is data, it's not that long. Do you know how often drugs are taken off the market?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Now,
right. Years later,
for the long-term effects.
Yeah, keep in mind the FDA, the American FDA, the American Drug Approval Process, is the most extensive and expensive in the world. It costs $100 million to go from creating a drug to getting it finally on the market because of all the tests. And even with all that rigorous whatever regulation, all that stuff, we still have drugs that were like, we've been doing this for 5 years, but now it looks like it also causes dementia or it causes, heart valve problems or other weird shit that's going on. We get drugs taken off the market all the time. SARMs haven't even made it to that point yet. They haven't even got to that point.
Right.
And people are experimenting. And the problem is that people are counting on their friends. They're like, oh, he took it and he looks okay. Well, yeah, I know smokers who look okay too.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't recommend it. And if you're in the fitness and health and wellness industry and you're like
irresponsible
and you're promoting SARMs,
like,
come on, man. Maybe you just tell people you're experimenting on yourself. You don't recommend it.
Right. I don't think. Here's the thing. Like, I took the BP 157 for my Achilles, and I had an incredible experience with it. So and now I'm not out there, promoting it and telling people they should take it by any means whatsoever. This was my choice. I know the risk that I'm taking and where I was at with my Achilles. And my Achilles feels a million times better than what it did before I had taken it. So I was a fan of it for those reasons. Now, could it actually affected my serotonin levels? Like, maybe it did. But for the trade-off for me, how debilitating my Achilles was, it was worth the risk for me. And it's my body, so I'm going to fucking do something like that. But at the same time, too, I'm not out there telling people that this is, you got to try this. It works so well.
Plus, they're weak anyway. Like I said, I know a lot of people who've taken SARMs. They're not new. They've been around for a while, and people are gaining, 3 to 5 pounds of muscle. I'm taking high doses of something. Oh, and by the way, it shuts down your testosterone too. That's the other point. At the doses that people are using, you will shut down your testosterone. So let's look at the facts here. You barely gain any muscle. You're shutting down your testosterone. And you don't know the safety profile of it. I don't understand why a person in that situation doesn't just go take
real
anabolic steroids.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to shut your testosterone down anyway. You already know what the side effects are. You might as well go with the real
It's what
deal.
I told you.
And you're going to gain more muscle.
It's the needle part, right? Which is the irony is it's better for you for that exact reason, right? That it's injectable. So, I remember being a 18, 19-year-old kid getting into lifting, willing to take almost any pill over the counter to try and build muscle, not thinking about the consequences. But I wouldn't touch steroids because that just seemed like a dirty, bad drug. And that's just the education around it, which I think we're evolving. We're getting better. I think there's more conversation. There's more people that are openly sharing about steroids and talking about anabolics and things like that. And where I'm at with it is I always tell people that, going back over again, I wish I wouldn't have done that because of all the health problems and issues that it's caused me down the road. But that's neither here nor there. I definitely, if I'm debating doing a SARM or testosterone at this moment, 100% I'm doing testosterone. 100, not even a question. It's just because we know it's safe.
You know who's using them too a lot? It's getting popular in the female competitive, among female competitors because of the promises that it's going to build muscle without
the masculinization.
Without masculinizing yourself. Here's the deal, women. You don't want to stimulate your androgen receptors with chemicals. That's like a man stimulating his estrogen receptors with chemicals. That's what makes. If you're a female and you want to get a sex change, that's what they do. They give you hormones that stimulate your androgen receptors. And so even though SARMs promise to not whatever at those doses and all that stuff, you're going to get some of those effects. And you start to throw your hormones off. That sucks. That sucks coming out of that. Talk to anybody. You've heard Adam talk about his ordeal with coming off testosterone. Like, I know women who did cycles of low doses of anabolic steroids like Anavar, which they were told, low doses are real safe. And I know how they felt. It threw them all over the place, So
worst feeling ever.
Yeah, I don't
for sure.
I don't recommend it to anybody.
This Quah is brought to you by Organifi. For those days you fall short on getting your organic veggies or whole food nutrition, Organifi fills the gap with laboratory-tested, certified organic superfoods to help give your health and performance the added edge. Try Organifi totally risk-free for 60 days by going to Organifi.com. That's Organifi.com. And use the coupon code MINDPUMP for 20% off at checkout.
All right, our first question is from Mr. Fricky. How do you strike a balance between listening to your body's signals to avoid burnout and injury while still pushing yourself hard enough to grow?
That's a good question.
Freaky.
That may be the question forever I'll ask myself.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if we ever truly master this. I think that
pushing yourself is not balanced. That's the difference.
Right. And I think Dr. Andy Galpin talks about this a lot, and we've quoted him many times on that you're either optimizing or you're adapting. And if you're optimizing, you're trying to have more balance, and that's your focus. And when you're trying to adapt, you're pushing your body and stressing it and trying to cause it to adapt. So you're constantly flirting with being in and out of that. And I think that you have to understand that. I think,
and both are actually necessary for
health.
Yeah, for good health.
Yeah, no. So I had this talk with Enzo, right? So he did this incredible weight loss journey, and he's been a Mind Pump listener for a long time, and he follows all the MAPS programs, and he looks phenomenal. And he's really struggling, kind of breaking this plateau. And I've been with him quite a few times when he's worked out. And what I've noticed is that he's just like kind of following the MAPS program to a T, and he's just kind of doing the weights that he's kind of always done. And I mean, he can sit there and talk to me. He's texting on his phone. And I'm like, the reason why you're struggling with seeing gains is you're not kind of incrementally stretching yourself. I said, you really need to start to stretch yourself a little bit, and don't take that advice and go overboard the other way and go kill yourself. Just every workout, try and take it up a tiny bit more than what you did previously, and that's what will force your body to adapt, grow, and respond. And I think that's just it. Is we're always trying to do that without doing it too much, and it's inevitable you're going to overreach sometimes. I just had this on the show recently where I talked about I knew I was stretching myself on my back routine. I knew I overreached a little bit, and I fucking paid for it. You know what I'm saying? And it set me back 3 or 4 days. And that's a lesson of, fucking that's what I get. And I know I'm in the middle of a 6-week competition right now, so I already know myself. I'm more than likely going to overreach than I am to underperform right now because I'm competitive.
Yep.
If we weren't doing that, I probably would have stopped, 3 or 4 sets earlier, or pulled off 10 pounds and not really stressed it that much. And
and I think too, with your average person, what we always try and focus on is like, how can we address these things with like your average person? What are they experiencing? And I think the hardest thing initially is to get to that place of homeostasis? What does that even look like? Where am I in terms of like where I'm sort of at a maintenance level? I've been super consistent, so that way now going forward, I know, just by doing one incremental thing, it's gonna affect my body in a certain way, and I can pay attention to that versus just sort of randomly doing things like and introducing things. You never really have that baseline established, so that way I can do certain exercises with certain intensity, and I know that it's going to either be at this level or at too high a level. So
that's a great point. I like to look at the balance and the health and the intuitive eating and all that stuff as home base. You know what I mean? That's where I like to know my right. home base is at. Now from there, I will move out of home base and I'll push myself to do different things. Like maybe I want to get stronger because I enjoy working out and I enjoy challenging myself, right? So maybe I want to hit a new PR in my squat or my bench press or my deadlift, or maybe I want to build a little bit more muscle, or maybe I want to get a little leaner because the summertime is coming up, or because I have this contest right now. Maybe I want to increase my endurance. I always move from that home base. The other thing too you want to consider is that when it comes to balancing your body out and feeling healthy, you have to consider all stresses in your body. It's not just your training that you need to consider. It's also your sleep, your lifestyle, your work, your relationships. All these things are things you need to take into consideration. So when you're looking at balance, look at the whole picture and use exercise and fitness as a tool to balance your body out. What do I mean by that? Well, if I'm in a state of high stress, let's say I'm at work is just insane, I'm working 12, 13 hours a day, maybe I have kids, maybe my home life is very stressful, I'm not getting good sleep. Well, I'm going to use exercise as a way to take stress off my body. I may do more mobility and stretching work, go through the motions, make myself feel better. Let's say the rest of my life is ideal. I'm getting good sleep, work is great, relationships are great, I feel good. Now I can apply more stress on my workout and also strike that balance. But at the end of the day, when you have that home base, it's a great place to know you can be as you move out from it. Like I'll give you some examples. Competitors are notorious for not having a balanced home base. They don't even know what the fuck that looks like. Right. They're either
all or nothing.
Yeah, they're either pre-contest or off season. And the difference between a pre-contest bikini competitor, physique competitor, bodybuilder, average, not all of them, some of them are really, really good, but the average one, the difference between the way they look and their health and their lifestyle, it's like two different human beings. I know female bikini competitors who the difference between contest and off contest is like 40 pounds. And we're talking about small girls. Right. I know guys where it's even worse. Yeah. Some of the old school bodybuilders were notorious. So I know Lee Priest would get, he's a short body. Dude. Yeah, he'd have to lose 100 pounds to get into contest. He had no healthy base. It was two extremes. It was two unhealthy situations. Both of them high stress on the body. See what I'm saying? Both of them not good for the body.
This is what I always thought was a major advantage to the way I train during the competing time and with my peers is I would watch them all do this, and I had the ability to come out of a show, get right back to my home base, kind of reset, gather myself, make sure I'm cool, and then get back into prep, and never allowed myself to swing really far out of range. And I was just watching a YouTube video with what's his name, Paul Rivera, which is Lane Norton's buddy, who talks about nutrition a lot, and he's a natural competitor. And he talks a lot about this with these competitors with these huge gains in the off season, like they're trying to build, and so they try and add 20. And I was the same way too. Like, and he talks about this. Like, I was the exact same way. I used to just care about the scale, just putting weight on.
Man, I used to do that.
You're so focused on that, but then you don't realize that when you add 20 pounds of weight and you want to get lean, and in order to get lean, you need to be in this deficit, and to lose a lot of that fat that you put on with the muscle, you got to be in this calorie deficit for a long period of time, and it's inevitable. Your body's going to adapt, and you will lose muscle. And there's a good chance you're going to lose a good chunk, if not almost all of what you fucking put on. That's what's crazy and I would see this with the competitors, and it's so obvious to me. I'm overgeneralizing because not all competitors this way. I mean, I know I gave kudos to, and we tease Jeremy Buendia a lot, but one of the things I've give credit to him is I have seen his physique progress year over year over year. And to me, that you're doing something right when you have this ability to progress like that. And it's very obvious to me when these athletes don't progress and that there's something wrong in their programming and their nutrition. And that's because they're doing the same thing. They're on, they're off. They're
and
on,
that's
they're
why
off.
they're doing these like 16-week preps.
Right.
And these insane low calories. And then they get this insane, like this is for real now. I'm not making this up. I know competitors, female competitors that will gain 15 to 20 pounds in the week after a contest. That is an insane body weight rebound. And now we have science to support that. Not only are their fat cells growing, but they're adding fat cells because of the crazy contrast,
That's right.
making it more difficult each time they go through that process.
Right.
I know guys that will gain 30 pounds in that same period of time, and that's just insane to me. One thing about Adam,
and they're making it so difficult.
oh, and one thing about you, Adam, that I enjoyed watching the few times I saw you compete was your preps were short, and you would sharpen up. That was it. It wasn't like you were fat and then you got shredded.
Right.
It's like you were lean and then you got sharp, and because you had a good understanding of where that kind of home base needs to be. So it's not about trading the two out. The way I look at it is most of the time, most of your life, you should be in this really healthy state of balance, of homeostasis, of intuitive eating, of training to feel good, of taking care of your body. That's how you should be most of the time. But you should definitely push your body sometimes and have a good time with it, and just know that, okay, now that I'm done pushing this is what I do right now. I do that. I didn't do this before. I used to gain 30 pounds every winter, no joke. I'd get my body weight as high as 220, 230 back in the day, and then I cut all the way down to 190. And it was this ridiculous thing that I would do every year. Now, what I do now is I push my body to add 15 pounds on a lift or whatever, or maybe I'll gain 7 or 8 pounds on the scale. I have accomplished now what I wanted to do, and then I'll pull back and see where my body falls when it's in balance. And so far, and now I'm older, so I don't think I'm going to continue. I'm not going to progress like I did before. But when I started using this strategy, each time I'd come down to my balance, I'd end up a little bit better than I did before. And it wasn't this crazy huge swing where I had to do, 16 weeks of dieting or force feeding myself insane amount of food. I mean, I used to force feed myself 6,000 calories. It was so much food. There's no way. I'm pretty sure it played a role in some of the gut issues that I have now. But yeah, that's really the key there is find your balance and then move from there, and don't go.
Move in and out of it.
That's it.
You're encouraged to move. If you're going to adapt and grow, you got to move out of your balancing comfort zone. That's optimizing. Balance is optimizing. Stretching yourself and overreaching a little bit is you adapting and growing. And you want to minimize that. You don't. What people do too much is I want to grow, so it's tons of calories, training hella hard, and it's everything they got towards that. It's this kind of ebb and flow thing where it's, hey, I would like to. I think everybody needs to practice. And this is why too I used to rant about a lot of people have no business competing until they've learned how to control their body weight and put themselves in a healthy low body fat percentage that they can maintain without even really trying that hard. You should be in that place before you start competitively going one extreme or the other extreme. So the same thing goes for this average person. Like before you start pressing hard to grow, you need to find what homeostasis, like Justin said, looks like. And then, be able to throw a variable in there like, hey, I'm going to add 500 calories and I'm going to increase my volume by 5,000 pounds a week over the next 3 weeks. And let's see what my body does, and then pull back from there and then add more. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it should
And
look
you did
like.
mention the scale. I think that's a good point too with the scale. Is the scale is really lies to you,
Right.
okay? That is I used to watch the scale, and if it went up in weight, well, poof, I'm doing a great job.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that can add weight on the scale. The same thing for losing weight. At the beginning of the episode, we talked about Katrina losing 2 pounds and actually going up in body fat percentage. Like, the scale is such a general signal. You got to look at other things and just gain. Look, here's the bottom line. I could cut off your arm and you would lose weight on the scale. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's funny. I used to play games. I don't know if you did this, Adam, because I know you were always trying to gain too. I would weigh myself after eating a big meal.
Of course.
I would not weigh myself first thing in the morning because I wanted to make sure that the scale would go up.
You want to load it.
Yeah. It's so funny how you mess with your
I
own
used to do that too.
mind.
Next question is from Lemon Base Drop. What's a good indicator that you've built up enough strength to start cutting calories to lose fat?
So I think what they mean is what's a good indicator that you're in a good position to start cutting calories? Like if your metabolism is built up enough.
I really like this question because this is kind of the dilemma that I was in before we decided to do this competition. I was really excited for us to do this because it added focus for me and more motivation than I already had to get healthier and get better. Now the challenge with that is that I am so competitive. I want to win so much that I'm constantly having this mental battle of what I should do for my body and what I want to do to try and win, right? And I knew damn well going into this competition between all of us that I am not in the position to, like Sal was saying earlier, just sharpen up and get lean. Because normally what I do before in a prep is I am in a very healthy place with my metabolism, with my hormones. Well, I'm taking synthetic normally when I'm competing. So of course they're flying, they're good. And I go, okay, I'm at X amount of calories, which I could easily be eating 4,500 to 5,000 calories before I decide to cut. I'm in a great place. I have a lot of room to reduce calories up or down or add cardio or whatever I wanted to do, and I'm in a very healthy place. I'm not there yet. And I mean, a good day of eating for me right now, like a high calorie day is like 3,200, maybe 3,400 calories. And any more than that, and I start to put on some body fat. So my metabolism is not roaring. Now, there's a lot of factors that come into play there. My lean body mass is significantly been reduced since then. My Achilles issue and my mobility, my movement, I'm not moving as much. I'm not burning as many calories. So I have a lot of things that are going on. But in a perfect world, and even in this competition, like you don't see me cutting. I'm not trying to aggressively cut just to win this competition with these guys. I'm still trying to build and cut kind of at the same time because I'm ultimately trying to make sure that my health is in the right position. So kind of going back to the first question about, finding what homeostasis is for you or what that balance looks like. Well, I know for me, like the amount of calories I like to eat that's sustainable for me is about 4,000. That gives me lots of room to have a burger every once in a while. It gives me the ability to where I don't have to be like penny pinching my calories or cutting things or being really stingy about my portions. I can eat very comfortably in that calorie range. It fuels my body properly. I have good workouts. So that's kind of where I'd like to be. So the fact that I'm only at about 3,200, 34 tells me that I'm really not in the right place to start cutting calories to lean out. Now, I'm trying to flirt with that a little bit because of this competition, so I'm having a few days. So what I'll do is I'll run a few low days at like 2,500 calories, which is really low for me. In fact, that was the lowest I ever saw during competing days. Like that would be like for one day, I would give myself a 2,500 calorie day at the very end of a competition. So where I'm at right now, I wouldn't recommend to me if I was coaching me to go cut. I would be telling me, Adam, you still need to be reverse dieting. You still need to be building muscle. Let's continue to build up that metabolism. Now, what that means to you is going to be different, right? So when I think you're ready to be cut, and this is how I used to coach Melissa when she was asking me the same question. Well, coach, when is it time for us to come back the other way and start shredding? You keep adding calories. You keep telling me to do this. You keep doing it. When are we going to start to lean out and get ripped? I said, my goal for you is to keep feeding you to get to a point where you finally look back at me and you say, Adam, that's a lot of food. I can't eat this. It's just a lot. When it becomes inconvenient to get the amount of calories that your body needs to sustain your weight, you're in a very good place to start to go the other way. That's your body naturally saying, hey, we got plenty of food. It's hard to get all the food I need to get just to sustain this weight. Now it's very natural for me to say, okay, now pull back. And then I would just tell her, okay, now just cut one of those meals out.
Yeah.
And then we just fucking drop.
Yeah.
And she's comfortable because she's not stuffing herself to get there. She's still eating a substantial amount of calories, and her body is just responding.
Yeah, because a little rule of thumb, and just to put it differently, but the same exact thing that Adam's saying, is I'll tell people where would you like your calories to be when you're maintaining your body weight.
Right.
Okay, so if you're if you're a woman and you're saying, well, I'd like to, I think I'd be okay eating about 1,800 calories a day every day for the rest of my life. I think I could maintain that. It's a decent amount of food. It's not too much. It's not too little. I would love to be able to maintain at 1,800 calories. Well, then what I'm going to do with that person is I'm going to say, okay, well, the goal then is to get your metabolism to a point where you're burning off, 600, 700, 800 more calories than that. Because then when you cut, you're going to cut down to that number. So the goal is, You want to be able to cut
Stretch
down
outside that a bit.
Yeah, you want to cut down to a number that you feel you can maintain at for a long time. You don't want to cut down to a number that's hard to stay at. You know, so if you're the same female and you're losing weight and getting lean, but you're eating 1,100 calories, well, guess what you're going to have to eat to keep that off? About 1,100 calories.
Well, I've got the same issue with another client friend of mine who is also an ex-competitor, and she's currently at, 1,800 calories, and she wants to lose a good 30, 40 pounds. And she's like begging me to give her the green light to cut and go the other direction. And I'm not okaying it.
No, she'll go down to 1,200.
And because I know, I'm like, yeah, we can drop to 1,300 calories and I could shred you off another 10, 15 pounds real quick. But to keep that off now, you got to maintain 1,200 calories. Like, who the fuck wants to live like that? Mm-hmm. So that's perfect advice. And that's why this advice is different per person, and that only you can make that decision on where you want to be. Absolutely, I could throttle down right now to try and accelerate my fat loss, to try and edge out Sal or Justin in the body fat reduction right now by reducing my calories. But then I'm going to end up in a place where I'm at like fucking 1,800 calories and like, fuck you. I don't want to. I don't want to live there.
Yeah,
like,
we know what the other end of that looks like.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna maintain that for a long time. What I'd like to do is continue to reverse diet, build myself up to where I'm pushing myself at like 4,500 calories, 4,000, somewhere around that range. So then when I cut back to like 3,500 and 3,000, that's a very easy place for me to kind of maintain and be healthy. So that's how you make that decision.
Yeah. And most times, when you cut someone's calories, it's typically between 300 to 600 calories a day. So average 400 or 500 calories. So think about it that way. Like, you might want to get at least 500 calories over where you want to maintain to keep your body weight
that's another great point. And that brings me back to what I was saying about how I like to really get up to like 5,000, because that gave me that flexibility to push harder. Like, somebody who eats 5,000 calories, dropping to 4,000 ain't a big deal. No. Because 4,000 is still adequate. I'm hitting all my macros.
And this takes time. It's important people know this, by the way. We got to communicate that. This takes time. If you've gone through a year or longer of cycling through diets or low calories, you got to give yourself. I've had people I've had to work with for a full year before I decided, okay, now we can start to cut your calories. So this may take some fucking time if you've got some quote unquote damage going on with your body. So just make friends with the fact that, okay, this can take a little while, because you don't want to, otherwise you're kicking the can down the road. You're going to stay where you're at, and you're going to be in one of these situations where for the next 5 to 10 years, you're constantly fighting to lose that last 10 pounds and you're barely eating any food. It's kind of a shitty place to be in.
Well, a lot of these arbitrary numbers that we're throwing around too comes from, the individual's RDAs for all these macro and micronutrients. So think about this for a second. And a lot of people have not even ever done this before, which I have. And that's where this all came from and how I started to figure it out for myself is, go through all and RDA is your recommended daily allowance, right? So what you should be taking in for these macro and micronutrients, and start to look at all those. And if the calorie number that you're at doesn't sufficiently give you enough nutrients that your body needs, and we'll just use the basic ones like protein and fat right now, like proteins and fats have calories in them. If you're at a certain body weight and size, muscle mass, your body needs X amount of protein and should be eating X amount of fat to sustain that body. And if you're having to eat significantly less than that just to lose some weight, you're not in a good place. You want to be like Sal saying, you want to be in a place that I can reduce my calories and I could still hit what my nutrient targets are. So my body's being fed and is healthy and is getting what it needs, instead of being in a super deprived place in a very low calorie, low nutrient deficient. You're just asking for your body to say, fuck you.
Mm-hmm. Hey, real quick, guys, I do want to remind you that this month, all month long, MAPS Performance is 50% off. You got to use the code GREEN50, GREEN, and the number 50, no spaces. Just go to mindpumpmedia.com.
Next question is from Cam Lil Doty. How would someone who works as an engineer and sits at a desk for 8 or more hours a day get their step count to 10 to 14,000 or more steps per day?
Great question.
It's a tough one.
It's funny because for most of human history, this was not a problem, right? Everything you did involved movement and walking.
Yep.
And the average person probably averaged closer to 20,000 steps a day just from doing daily things. In fact, if I went back in time with a time machine 500 years and I brought people back from 500 years ago and I brought them into a gym, they'd be like, what are these machines?
Yeah, why? Are you paid to come do this?
Yeah, what do you
pay to work? They don't go, I got a farm right up the road.
What do they
I got heavy boxes over here. Like, why are you lifting those weights?
Like, what are you guys building? Like, nothing. They're just doing it for the sake of doing it because they need to move. I mean, so the key here to understand and just become friends with is that you're going to have to schedule it in.
Yes.
Bottom line.
You have to be very intentional the entire process with this. And that means like, parking far away, like all these like little things that you can incorporate throughout your entire day that like, okay, I'm not going to allow myself to sit when I get home. I'm going to be walking, doing things constantly.
That's right. This is what I used to tell clients who were at desks all day long. I used to tell them every 90 minutes, go do a 15-minute walk or activity. That's it. Now, you will actually find you're more effective and more productive when you do this because movement does stimulate neural connections in the brain, increases BDNF in the brain, which is like a nootropic, right? It helps you think faster and smarter, gives you more energy, gives you a little break from what you're doing, changes the environment. And if you could do things that don't require you to sit down, if you could do certain things standing or moving, then do so. And this is the other thing too. I don't understand this part right here at all. For people who sit down all day long at work, why do they go sit down for lunch? That doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Eat your food and go for a walk. You got an hour. Like, take advantage of that. Your body was not designed to sit that long all the time. It just wasn't. And so you're going to have to literally schedule it in. I like what Ben Greenfield does, right? He sets an alarm on his phone. And
These little micro workouts he does all over the place.
Yeah, every so often his alarm will go off and he'll be like, oh, I got to do 10 squats. And then you'll go sit down again. And another one went off. I got to do some push-ups.
Right.
And you'll do that. Now, I when I started doing trigger sessions, I noticed greater productivity. So when I first started testing the MAPS program, the first thing I did was I wrote the workout out, just like how to do the workout, and I was testing it out. After I wrote the workout out, then Doug and I had to create all this marketing material for it. And Doug puts it together, he wraps it, makes it look nice, but I do most of the writing. I have to write the sales material, I have to write the information, I have to write the blogs. I ended up writing I don't know how many blogs at the time, and I found that on the days that I did trigger sessions, I was way more productive than the days where I just did a 1 hour workout and the rest of the day I wasn't active. It was crazy. It was like I'd sit down and I'd write and I'd find myself getting stuck and I'd be like, oh shit, I got to do my 8-minute trigger session.
Yeah, I think that's an even better strategy than just trying to get steps in, because now we're actually like trying to stimulate like other parts of your body and other muscles that are, are completely inactive because you're sitting for so long. As opposed to just like getting movement in, being very purposeful and being very intentional about what types of movements that you can. And plus, too, it doesn't take up a lot of space. So like walking, you got to go somewhere. You got to go do something else. Like literally, like you said with the Ben Greenfield thing where he does like pops and does squats and like has these alarms that kind of go off. You can kind of incorporate that. It feels to me a little bit easier with like a rubber band, something that you can do that's a little more purposeful.
Yeah, and I think is it in Japan, Doug, because I know you live there, that some companies have morning exercise routines for the employees and then like mid-afternoon exercise routines?
Yeah, I think a lot of the big companies or even small companies would have people outside in the morning doing calisthenics.
Yeah, and like Tai Chi.
I actually saw it like at a Mercedes dealership. I drove by once, and in the morning, everybody was out there doing their calisthenics, their stretches and their jumping jacks and all that stuff.
Now, you know why they did that?
Cool.
We can remember the Japanese culture.
Smart, improved productivity, I'm sure.
Oh, they're very focused on productivity. In fact,
so smart.
The explosion of Japan's economy in the 1980s was a crazy example. It's a tiny country, and they just exploded onto the scene, and they were just super effective, and that's why they implemented those things. They found that we do this with our employees. They're a lot more effective at their job. So, because I think a lot of people think if they stop to move that they're going to get less work done. No, I got to sit at my desk. I got all this work to do. 5 to 8 minutes is really all you need. Do that movement. I mean, you end up doing, if you're there for 8 hours, you'll probably end up doing about, you figure about 5 to 10 minutes each time. That's a good almost 40 minutes of exercise spread out. but your productivity will increase, at the same time.
Now, I 100% agree with you guys. If you are a person who can actually Ben Greenfield the shit out of this, and every couple hours, or 90 minutes or so, like Sal's saying, get up and do these little micro movements. I haven't had as much success with clients in those strategies. Now, some of my clients will implement that a couple times, maybe throughout their day. But a lot of my clients they get so busy with work that 4 hours passes and they haven't fucking moved. So that tends to be difficult to pull somebody away from their super labor intensive job or mentally focused job that they're in. Now, for me, first of all, 10 to 14,000 steps. If you think that's a lot of steps, it's not. It's not a lot of steps. It may sound like it. It may feel like it because you get up, you get in your car, you drive to work, you sit at work, and then you drive home and you sit back at home and watch TV, or maybe within there you have a 1 hour workout, which is only about 2,000 to 3,000 steps if you're walking around the gym. So that may seem like a ton, but listen to what I just said you're doing. You're not fucking moving at all. Simply getting up 1 hour earlier in your day and going for a walk first thing in the morning, whether you have a dog or a pet or a spouse that you can go walk for, and or in the evening, or training yourself at the dinner meal. So this is what's been very successful for me in teaching my clients. If you're a morning person, teaching them to be up early, because some people like to be up early and get up and have a cup of coffee or whatever. So instead of having your cup of coffee and sitting at the table and reading the newspaper, have a cup of coffee and listen to your newspaper and walk. And go walk outside in the morning, fresh air, and add that into your routine an extra half hour earlier. And then I love the idea of, and this does work for a lot of my clients, is at lunch break, do go for a little 20-minute, 30-minute walk. And then at the end of the night, after you have your last meal, go for another walk. And then you guys see me right now. I don't know if you notice it or not, but when I train in here, I pace between sets.
Oh yeah, I do the same thing. Yeah.
So, and I'm not doing jump rope. I'm not doing burpees. I'm not trying to elevate my heart rate, but I am moving my body. I am burning more calories than I would be if I was sitting absolutely still. And because I use my steps as a way to measure the way I'm increasing movement over the time and progressing into a competition like this, I incorporate just walking in between sets. And that tends to ramp up a couple extra 1,000 steps from my 1 hour workout. So those are simple ways for you to add that in there. Now, all that being said, you can schedule 1 hour of LISS cardio, which is, low intensity, steady state, where you're just kind of elliptical, a very light jog. You're not trying to push the heart rate super hard. And in an hour's time, you're going to get 10,000. You'll get 10,000 steps just from a light jog. A walk will get you 8. So if a walk will get you 8, a light jog is going to get you 10 to 14 for 1 hour. And so you might need to be someone who, okay, my goal is I'm going to do what the boys are saying and schedule all these breaks in the middle of the day or a morning walk or evening. And if you do, you may not have to do this hour of LISS cardio. But if you don't, that's your default, right? My default is, fuck, today was just crazy. Boss didn't let me get away from the computer. I couldn't get a break. I did work through a lunch, just a crazy day. I know those days happen, so I understand that. But then when that happens, that's when I discipline myself to go, hey, well then today I need to make sure that I go for that walk with Katrina tonight when I get home. This is a day I can't skip on that because this was also a day where I sat on my ass all day long. And this is why I love Fitbits and trackers, is just for this exact reason, just a reminder. Not because I hang on the number, I go, oh my God, I only burned this much, I gotta do this, or oh my God, I'm only this many steps, I gotta do this. It's just oh shit, I didn't realize how inactive I was today. Holy fuck, it's 4:00 and I'm at 2,000 steps. That I'm not on pace to hit my 10, 15, 20,000 steps or whatever you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. So that's how I use those things. And then I would incorporate some LISS cardio.
Next question is from Elizabeth H. Harris. What are your self-care practices and how do they impact your mental and physical aptitude?
Self-care.
I masturbate a lot. And it clears my head, helps me to start my day the right way.
Yep, same here. What about you, Adam? No, I'm just kidding. You know what I think about when I hear this question is I think about all of the parents that I've trained throughout my career. And then, of course, myself, I have children. It is very important to take care of yourself if you want to be an effective parent or an effective human being. Especially, and I communicate this to parents more often because it's easier to become a martyr when you have kids because you value and love your children so much. Like I love my kids more than the word love even expresses. There's nothing that compares.
Well,
so
it's a lot of times you get lost because you don't see like how much you're pouring outwardly, right? And you're not like filling yourself up. It's just easy to get into that sort of a trap and that mentality, as a parent. So I totally agree.
Yeah, and it's easy to do because you love these kids so much, and it's altruistic and it feels good. But at the same time, if you're tired, if you're not taking care of yourself, you become less of an effective parent, less of an effective human being. And so that's when I think about, what this question reminds me of. Now, for me, my workouts are my biggest self-care practice. I wake up every morning at between 5 and 5:30. And, within 45 minutes to an hour, I'm in my garage and I'm working out. I have a workout partner. It's my girlfriend, Jessica, but it's our time. We go in there and we do our thing. We have a ritual. We do our workout. Then we come back out, and it's my time. It's our time. This is when I take care of myself, and it's been like this for the last, 25 years of my life. I've been doing this since I was a kid. So that's the biggest, most important self-care practice that I do for myself. The other one is a little bit more recent, and this is something that I've done more recently since I started dating Jessica, and this is at night. We do at least 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, where her and I will sit down. We have the lights off or candlelight just because we're trying to get our bodies ready for sleep. And we will sip on tea and we'll just have a good conversation or just sit there quietly. And I've really started to appreciate that wind down before bed because I used to be the kind of person that I would run real hard and then go right to bed. There was no like prep before going to bed. So I'm really starting to appreciate doing that. It allows us to connect with each other, communicate, and kind of end the day on a good, relaxing note. And I think those are the top two things that kind of come on top of my head.
Yeah, I think for me, what I've noticed really helps me to be able to get to that space is to create more systems within like outside of work. Like work, we're always trying to kind of organize and get better about like, being a solid like oiled machine. Like all the systems are in place and everything's working the way it should. Well, I hadn't realized that I didn't really establish that in my own house, like, and for myself, like to, what do I do when I come home? What are the first items? And like, it took me a while to figure out like the priorities of like, okay, I'm going to address this first. Cause now, we have a puppy. He's got to get exercise constantly. The kids, they have work they need to accomplish. They need to clean rooms, this or that, whatever. The other, like I'm going to go, cook outside. I'm going to do like barbecue. I'm going to wash the dishes. Like all these things are items that like, if I now get into a rhythm with it, yeah, I don't think about it anymore. Mm-hmm. Now I don't think about that anymore. Now I can go and enjoy, like, so I'll go to walk the dog, for instance. I can be meditative about it now. Like, okay, now I'm out. Now I'm really trying to just get the chatter out of my mind. And so that allows me to come back in a better state of mind. I start accomplishing these other tasks. And then, and they go through the whole process of, putting the kids to sleep, this and that and the other, to where like now I can kind of like enjoy reading a book or like talking to my wife or like, just being in a better mental state, creating that sort of organization of like, okay, this is literally what like a day is going to look like. I can repeat this. And so that's really helped me to bring me into like a relaxing kind of a state.
So I was looking for a text message that I sent to Katrina on Monday because this sparked this thought for me. And I don't know if you've listened to the interview that we did with Sex with Emily, I think on her show. I think it was her show. I talked about when I tell Katrina I love you, because I'm one of the guys who doesn't do that enough. So I'm terrible at it, but there's reasons behind that, and I get into it in the show. But when I do, it's because I'm thinking of something, and I can always explain. And so we have this kind of thing that we do in our relationship where if I say I love you, that she at any time she can challenge me and say, what are you thinking about? And I'll be able to tell her exactly what prompted me to say that. And so on Monday morning, or Monday late morning, I sent her a text message that said, I love you. And then she sent back to me, why. And then I listed off all the reasons why. And it was more about taking care of myself and how important that is to me loving her. And when I'm taking care of myself, my own practices and doing those things, I'm a better partner. I'm a better employer, employee. Like I'm better all the way around. And I recognize now as an older man how important all these things are over a lot of the other superficial things I probably used to chase when I was much younger. And so the list of things that I had said to her, I'll read them to you. So since this popped up right now, I sent this to her on Monday morning. I sent her over the I love you, and then she sends back to me, what are you thinking about? And I said, our house is clean, our boys are clean, my cars are clean, Camaro is running, meals are prepped, boys are walked, read my book this morning, had coffee on our patio, walked a couple miles, trained both days this weekend, had a great weekend, sex with my beautiful wife. I call her my wife even though she's not. Week is set for success. Life doesn't get much better than that. It's all coming together. And really all those things that I listed off are so important to my self-care practices. For some reason, I've put this together a long time ago that when the cars that I get into on a regular basis are not cluttered and they're clean, when my dogs that I pet that you pick up dust and drive my allergy crazies and it allows me to love on them and play with them, makes me a happier person. When we have incredible sex, obviously that's always really good. When I wake up early, enough time for me to go get a nice brisk walk in like we were talking about in the last question, and I'm able to read one of my books or listen to one of my audiobooks while I'm on a walk. All of these things impact my mental health and where I'm at as far as myself. Those things right there, if that's where I'm trying to get every day. When I can hit those out the park every day, I fucking crush, man. I crush every aspect of my life. And I think it's extremely important that you, whatever yours are, that you figure those out because it will enhance every other aspect of your life. And I know that may sound weird because I'm telling her I love her and it's all about me, but I'm a firm believer in that you can't love anybody fully until you fully love yourself.
Absolutely. That's what Justin said earlier.
Yeah, I do. I'm loving myself
all the time.
Things come out.
Oh my God!
Sorry, excuse me. Excuse me.
So check this out. We have free guides that we've written for you. Some of them teach you how to burn body fat. Others teach you how to train certain areas of your body. They're at mindpumpfree.com. You can get all of them. Again, they're free.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.